Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Lost Through the Rabbit Hole. Tonight we have Jay Bachochin joining us, and if you're from Wisconsin, you know he's like our Bigfoot guy.
How's it going, Josh?
Oh, it's going good. It's going good.
Okay, great intro. I like that. That's good.
Thank you, thank you.
It's like you're nailing them all. It's like question everything, everything.
I've covered absolutely. I started this. It started with aliens and cryptids, and then I got into everything. It seems like everything leads into everything, and it's just this one big continuous circle of what.
Well,
The more I like,
yeah,
I was gonna say
it's actually. Well, I was just gonna say it's actually everything that I try to encourage people and find your truth. That's the way you got to do
yeah,
it. It's like, yeah, you got to question everything, absolutely, but not just in the Bigfoot world or crypto world or UFOs. I mean, your everyday life, question everything, and it's okay to have that type of mindset. I believe.
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you for coming on.
You bet.
So I'll ask the big question right away, since it was the big talk of the month. The Patty, is she fake? Is she real? Is it a cash grab?
My opinion on that. I mean, it's just like anything. It's like that Miami Mall incident that happened in New Year's Day 2024. Remember when there was those
Yeah.
1,000
Oh,
cop
yeah.
cars lined up there, and you couldn't find a video on it at all. And then it's kind of that slow drip again about releasing the information. Now you can start finding that footage on there, or is that place there? That's the other thing. It's like it's all taken off, and all of a sudden it's there. Is that real or not? And I believe, answering the question about the Gimlin Patterson footage is pretty much the same. There's what, it's been over 50 years, and yet nobody has been able to debunk it. They couldn't prove it either, but they couldn't debunk it. And I believe coming out with a documentary just to try to debunk that or to prove that it's fake. There's too much. I want to say I don't want to say just AI, but I mean there is, and so much can be done to make it look and feel like it's authentic. I mean, come on. Sometimes you could be scrolling along TikTok and you're seeing, Tom Cruise fight, Brad Pitt, and it looks so real and so convincing. And that's where we are in today. But it also goes back to even my sighting or anything that I've ever captured, is you can look at it and say, all right, Jay, you caught something that was misidentified, or you misidentified something. And it's like, you know what? When it comes down to it, I'm the observer, I'm the mirror out there while I'm hiking, while I'm doing studies and research. And so it goes like that with this film too. I was not there, when that footage was caught back in late 60s. So actually I was just being born. So, I mean, at this point, it's like I wasn't there, and I can't really remark on whether it is or not, because when I first saw that footage back in the 70s, even being a very young lad, I looked at Patty walking away, and even then I was like, that's a guy in a suit. This is like a 11-year-old kid thinking this. And throughout doing investigating like UFOs or ghost phenomenon, Bigfoot was never on my radar, because Bigfoot was always just a joke. When people have been out there looking for it, they can't find evidence. They just find footprints that could be hoaxed. Having experiences being misidentified. And so Bigfoot was never on my radar. And now that I've been doing this for, nearly 13 years, I have a whole different opinion and approach to Bigfoot, the phenomenon. And that doesn't mean I can tell you what a Bigfoot is. Looking back at the Patterson-Gimlin film, there's a lot of things that are just convincing that I don't feel like they had the technology back in the late 60s like they could do now. They could easily make a Patterson-Gimlin film with somebody else and try to dupe that as authentic, because I'm already seeing them come out in AI. So bottom line, my opinion still is Bigfoot, they do exist. I don't know what a Bigfoot is. Is the Patterson-Gimlin film authentic? And in my opinion, I believe it is. So that's the long and short of it.
I agree with you. I mean, I've being a child in the '90s and just camping, my family, like most Wisconsinites, are huge outdoorsmen. I was with my grandfather a lot, hunted, fished, and you'd hear whispers around the campfire from some pretty seasoned guys that were Vietnam vets about rocks being thrown and just being in the stand and just seeing a deer and being like, I have that feeling, I gotta leave.
Right,
And
right. Yeah.
that feeling I had in Nam is back. I'm gonna leave. Screw the deer. And I mean, one of these guys was a tunnel rat.
Right.
In like,
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, I mean, that's 100% right.
and so there was always, I always felt that there was something there. That was,
Yeah. What's your opinion on it? Have you talked about it yet? Or is this the first time about the Patterson film?
I asked people. I've never really said my opinion, but
I'd love
I'm a
to.
huge fan.
I'd love to hear your opinion. Go on. Come on. You're live. You're
I
on the
mean,
spot.
it's literally the footage is in my intro.
Right.
So yeah, I'm a believer. I honestly think this is probably like a cash grab from some production company.
Of course. And it's getting everybody to talk about it, obviously. And I've seen a lot of good posts from like Ken Gerhardt or Matt Moneymaker, or, people that are, really known in this field for that. And um, I like their post and how they describe of what their feelings are on it, instead of just saying it's real, or it's fake or anything. And it really does make you think. But at the same time, how you ever going to know if Bigfoot really exists if you're just sitting here watching podcasts or my documentaries or anything? It's like not until you get out in the woods and really spend a lot of time out there, not just a nature hike one time a year, but actually get out there as much as you can. Then you'll start to find out that their Bigfoot does exist.
Right? That and the other one that was really popular around Wisconsin in the '90s was the Black Panthers in the woods. I'm sure you've heard stories.
Actually, I know somebody that had a sighting. Well, let's just back up a little bit. Linda Godfrey, God rest her soul. She actually, her last project was actually working on the documentary of the Black Panthers in Wisconsin. And this is something that has been really, the same way with me. I'm watching the documentary, I'm thinking the same thing. Are people letting these cats out to survive in the Wisconsin woods? And of course, there's the ones that are keeping the black cats in captive. They're like, no, we're not missing any. That I've heard, like in zoos or places like that. But so I've actually heard all the stories, and it was kind of cool because the documentary was about people that have encountered these in Wisconsin. And one of the coolest things, actually, it kind of like goes to full circle, is I was contacted by somebody actually I research with now, who's a very good friend, Sherry Lampy, up in the Kettle Moraine. But her sighting didn't actually happen in the Kettle. It happened in her backyard in a neighborhood. And so she was stunned by it because she also has a dog, and she was able to be able to see the size of her dog at that distance versus what looked like the black cat with the tail and the way it moved. So she knows she wasn't seeing anything. And of course, when you're watching this, I think she was on the phone with somebody. So her reaction was not to be able to start shooting video. You're just kind of stunned looking at this. Mm-hmm. So knowing Sherry, like I said, is that's something that was not made up. And that's something that she'll always remember. As a matter of fact, they had authorities over there. They were able to see. They weren't able to get any good prints or anything like that, but they were able to see where some of the leaves and everything were pressed down in a certain way in the exact area where she had the sighting. So I guess that's what it is. It's like I know somebody that actually had that besides just watching this on, a documentary or anything like that. So I believe they are out there, which again, we're out there at night, doing our hikes and everything when we're out there. And I'm thinking, oh, that's kind of weird that she saw a Black Panther. And yet we're all walking out there, with these Black Panthers possibly being right around us. That's why I like to definitely carry, I was going to say thermal, but before a thermal, at least a little protection, just in case. You don't know what you're going to walk. You don't know what you're going to walk into. Maybe not Bigfoot or the Beast of Bray Road, but you might run into a bear or a cougar or a Black Panther. You never know.
Right. Never know. Yeah, the whole Black Panther thing has just been so strange too. That was another one where there'd be a lot of pretty reputable men like that I looked up to that would talk about that, and they're like swearing up and down, like they would get a little giddy about it, like I'm gonna get him, I'm gonna get him.
It's like
I remember my grandfather and his friends actually going out on hunts looking for it.
Yeah,
my grandfather was also the type though too that would like go by them during deer season with a tape recorder with a speaker and like play like bobcats fighting, like right underneath his buddy's stand.
And again, with that, even you don't know what some of these sounds can be. Like if you ever really heard like a bobcat or cougar, doing their calls, it doesn't sound like something that you would see them. And usually I think of seeing like I don't want to say a bobcat or a mountain lion or something. It sounds like the MGM opening, with the roar, the growl. But some of the sounds that come out of these animals are just almost sound terrifyingly human. And so you don't know what it is. Some of these calls that you hear out there,
or even the yips. Living in Green Bay, I remember going here actually for a field trip, and they had a tiger that would like yip like he was hurt, and everybody would come in, and he clearly did this that he was bored, so everybody crowd around him, and then he just pissed all over the fence.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just scored everybody, and then they go back into his hut. I remember him going there and him doing this like numerous times to crowd. So it's probably like his form of entertainment. But that sound, that yip, when I first heard it, I was like, no way it's coming from that tiger. It sounds like
exactly. Exactly. So imagine being out, in the woods in the dark, and you're hearing some of these things. A lot of people are like, all right, that was, I'm out there looking for Bigfoot. So therefore that sound that I can identify is a Bigfoot, and it's not like that, because, you get all the Bigfoot mimics. And it's like, well, I don't have one in my garage. I can actually see him mimic different sounds or anything like that. However, some people, have claimed to have heard that. And again, those are stories and claims. They can be misidentification. And that's why I just kind of focus on me. I try to wipe away all the white noise. And, when I'm doing that and I'm doing my own research or my own studies and being able to capture different things, it's just something I want to identify. I mean, it'd be really cool. I've been out there for 13 years, and all of a sudden, if I, heard what sounds like a woman screaming, but then saying, it sounds like a name, then it would be like, ooh, is that, could that be the elusive Bigfoot? When it turns out to be, a cat or a bobcat or anything like that. But that would be good because that's something I would learn. And then you file that, and you just kind of keep moving on with the research.
Absolutely. So, I want to hear about your UFO experience.
Okay. The main sighting one, this is going to be late 70s. And it's kind of cool because I don't live too far from there, from where I am right now. I am in Wisconsin. This happened in Illinois. So I'm kind of on the border. I'm a good 45, 50 minutes away from this location. And I was just there this past Sunday, just driving by and kind of reminiscing. And this happened in Lindenhurst, Illinois. And I remember this like, it was like it was yesterday. Maybe because I keep telling the story. I don't know. But I remember it was a Friday night. And I remember my mom was going to pick up my older sister up at a school event that they have every Friday. And as they were coming home, so it had to have been around 10 o'clock, my sister comes in the house and she's crying. And she's clearly upset. And she's like, we're being invaded. We're being invaded. And we're like, what? So me and my two other brothers, older brother and younger brother, kind of walk out towards my mom, who's standing in the driveway just looking up. And she's like, yeah, look at this. And she's pointing at that light. She goes, I've been seeing that ever since I picked your sister up. And it's not like I was following her, but as she's driving, she could just see it in the sky. She says it would just sit there and kind of spin and hover. And all of a sudden it would blink out and it would be across the sky doing the same thing. And that's what she was kind of saying as we're watching this. And sure enough, that same thing happened, to where we could see it in the night sky, and it didn't seem that low at that point. But we had this lake in front of our house. We didn't have a lakefront house, but we were across the street from the lake. And I remember seeing it where she was pointing at it, and all of a sudden it would blink out, and in an instant would be, the only way I could really say it is maybe, a couple hundred yards, maybe even more than that, just across the lake. I mean, in an instant though, and it would do the same thing and just kind of have some light spinning around it and just hover, no sound. It did it again, came closer to where we were at by our house, and we could watch it. And it wasn't, when it was hovering, it looks like it was hovering and moving really slow. So we were almost not completely under it, but it had a great look at it. And all of a sudden it would just be really super slow, no sound at all. I mean, it was, back then in the late 70s, not a lot of traffic. There was no sound to this. And all of a sudden it would blink out, and then it would be, I don't know, it would almost seem like it was like a half mile down in the sky, and then it would just slowly just go away. So whatever this was just kind of hanging around this area for a long time. And like I said, my whole family, we remember this like it was yesterday. Maybe because I tell the story, and once you tell the story enough times, you can visualize it. And then, you find out later, if you jump back in time, that maybe it didn't happen that way. Maybe it was a blimp that said, Bozo the Clown on it or something, or the way
Goodyear,
or Goodyear. That would have been another one. But definitely there was no blimps in that part of the area, because my grandfather, who was in the early chapters of MUFON in Chicago, we told him about this. Yeah, so it was really cool, because here's a kid that's 11 years old, was able to talk to his grandpa, and he was like an older Fox Mulder. He was always talking about the truth and his experiences of what he's seen in the 50s and the 60s, and he had drawings, and he was just really, really into it. So I think that's where I actually got into it, because again, I was the observer. It's not that I just watched it on TV and going, okay, I believe what you're showing me. Because, if you really want to question everything, how far back does AI go? We think it's just today. AI's probably been here since the 50s, and we just don't know it. And this is what we're programmed to believe, everything that we see. And that's what pushes societies in a certain way. So, it was just something that really kind of set me on a track, I think, of more of a investigator. And I've always been interested in that. I really don't do a lot of it, because I'm always like, what, the UFOs, government's got that monopolized, so what am I going to research, walk over and pick up the grass and this tastes like radioactive, I don't have any of that. I don't have, a science lab, in my house or anything like that. You can only go by what you observe or what you capture,
Absolutely.
and that's about it. That's the grand UFO story that got me going into investigating.
That's really cool. I got into it too because my grandfather was constantly seeing this cigar-shaped ones to the point like my entire family was seeing it around him, and he was getting like annoyed by it.
Yeah. What it look like? Do you describe it?
The metallic, gigantic cigars in the sky, or the
Yeah.
sideways. You refer to them too as silos. They almost look like.
Yeah, silos, but on the side, and
God, yep.
that's what my grandpa used to talk about too. The cigar shapes and the ones that he's seen in Chicago. That's kind of cool that you mentioned that
It
part of it
got,
because it's a certain type of craft.
and it's funny too because that would have been like Cleveland, Wisconsin area, so could have been right around the same time or the same craft, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't know. I mean, how about the triangle UFO right now that's out there?
Oh,
Um,
I have a feeling about that.
yeah, exactly.
The
And
TR3B.
right, but on how far back that goes is when people look at it now saying, it was the government. I mean, even for what I saw, the way it moved, it's not so much a light in the sky for me. I think it's the maneuvers that defy the way aircrafts can move. However, again, you look at today, you throw a couple drones up, and I see them every 4th of July just buzzing around, moving like, whoa. I mean, that's cool. Maybe 15 years ago, I would have said that was a UFO, just the way it moved. So
Right.
you don't know how far back that goes. So again, I saw something that was, unidentified flying object, but I'm not saying that craft that we saw, was the man from Mars or anything. I mean, it was probably earthbound, and it was, well, I don't want to say probably. I actually think it was, and I think that our technology is way more advanced than what
Oh yeah.
that the public knows. Again, question everything, right?
This is one of the things we hit on a weekly basis. Actually, at Dark Mirror Radio, we talk about that, about this press technology. I'm sure the military is probably, I'd say, at least 100 years ahead of us.
No, easy.
And
I
I
mean,
think we
come
get
on. Star Trek teleportation, it exists.
right. There's all these things too. I was really into animation and cartoons growing up. Um, I grew up with the Jetsons and like the Herculoids and Space Ghost, and there's a lot of stuff, and like Johnny Quest too. There's a lot of stuff from Johnny Quest that is real now, like
Right.
absolutely real now, and it's like, huh. Did the technology come from them, or like is it based off of Johnny Quest, or
Yeah.
was
I
Greater Johnny Quest in the military could see something?
No, but I mean, it's like this, it's like the mall down in Miami. I think all these things are just slow drips. And it's slow drips right now in social media, in my opinion. But the also slow drips has been TV, cartoons, entertainment, cartoons, anime, music. Everything has molded us into a certain path of I don't want to say believing, but understanding that those things could be possible. Just like Back to the Future Part Two. I mean, how do they predict all those things that happen? That they're talking to the kitchen with the caller ID. Dad, it's needles. you know, um, and it is so there's things like that are actually true, and everyone's like, how long have we had this technology? I think it's always been there. It's a slow drip for us to, when it does come out, either just to accept it or embrace the technology. I'm not sure.
Right. I feel like honestly, that's probably why we were given cell phones and why AI came out, is because I feel like everything has been way more active since the past couple of years.
Yeah, Oh yeah, 100%. Let me ask you this: when you not TMI, but when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're up for whatever bathroom break or whatever, get something to drink. Do you immediately just go on your phone really quick just to scroll just as you're walking, just to, you know what I mean? Or is your phone just constantly off and you have certain times that you watch it?
I usually scroll.
But that's what I'm
It
saying.
depends. It depends too. Like if my phone's charging and I gotta work.
Yeah.
I also work night shift, so like I recently started working night shift this year, so like my whole sleeping thing has been like way messed up.
No, I just
Like,
I don't know. I think about that. It's like you want to get to your phone right away. Why? And then you're scrolling and you're getting all this information. Even if you're not, paying attention to that, whatever feed that's coming on, and you're scrolling to the next, you're getting that just few seconds just scrolling. You know what I mean? And you're just getting all this
and
information
this is
dumped.
time.
Yeah. And your information is just getting dumped in your head. And I don't know. I mean, it's like you said, that's the exact reason why I think we have cell phones and social media.
Absolutely. That's too like with this show. Some of the times the rabbit hole goes too deep. I mean, like I've heard about Project Looking Glass and a lot of the FBI programs and conditionings, and then you hear people talk about like Grateful Dead being funded by the government and giving like deliberately handing out acid to like,
Of course.
and it's kind of it gets, and then you hear like the Doors were like all their dads were general like major generals and stuff, and like what?
No, I hear you. It's some very bizarre, uh, yeah, approach to whether it's something like you said, taking and being able to see. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's how schizophrenia sees.
Right? Then I worry about that too. I'm like, oh, we went too far.
Exactly. Yeah. You start to look like that guy behind you on your right, again, on the
Right.
wall.
uh, did you ever see any UFOs again after that?
I've probably seen. I probably stopped counting after 6 different ones that I couldn't identify. One of them was, you ready? You know what a horseshoe looks like,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like a backward horseshoe going through the sky, and it was just barely lit up, and it just went across the whole sky. And I was like, I mean, it was weird because it was shaped like a horseshoe and just the right angle. And I remember just seeing that. As a matter of fact, my daughter, she's gonna be 36, and I remember she was probably 9 when she was with me. We were driving and we saw it, and it was like, "Did you just see that? Yeah, did you just see that?" So again, you don't know what it is, and I've seen other things that the whole meteors that are being popped over the news over the
Right.
past.
What is going on with that?
I don't know.
I've had coworkers show me off their phones,
Yeah.
which is kind of starting. No, like not TikTok. Like, oh, look at what I saw on the way into work, and I'm like, oh,
It's weird. They
it's,
they almost look like fragments of missiles.
yeah, it's
I'm
not a
just
great time while we're in a war right now, and it's like,
I'm just saying that's just kind of how I look at it. And the thing is, I don't jump on the whole hype of that because you go anywhere now and you'll see how many sightings in the past 3 weeks, and they're hitting all these major cities, and where are they coming from? They were trying to explain the one they saw in California, because they were saying meteors that look green because somebody saw a green streak go by, saying that's entering the Earth's atmosphere. Um, and the other ones seem to be burning up, which are more of the fiery orange. But going back to you were saying any sightings that I've had, and I've seen some very weird sightings that uh, almost look like that green streak, right? But the odd thing about this was, I remember coming home from work, and I did a late shift, and I was driving back home, and it was probably about 2:30 in the morning. And I remember my dashboard's up, and again, there was not a lot of traffic on the road, especially going back home. And all of a sudden, I remember it was kind of an overcast night, so I didn't really see a lot of stars, so it was overcast. But I see this green ball, kind of right up there, right through my dash, and I'm looking at it. And as I'm looking at it, all of a sudden it was there, and then just went phew, and just shot away. And I thought, okay, that was weird, because it was like I saw it stationary. I didn't see it, like these videos people are showing you, the meteors or anything. And it was maybe it was that weekend, because I'm almost thinking the second one happened on a Friday. So this was probably on a Tuesday, because I was really close to being home. And I remember on a Friday, I was up late, watching movies, fell asleep, and I woke up probably around that time. I can't tell you exactly what time it was, but I remember it was late. And I turned the TV off, and we had this window, because we had like a little cottage type house, and the windows were a little bit higher. And I walk over there, and I'm looking out the window, and it's all dark in the house and dark outside. And all of a sudden I see this green ball just stationary, and I look at it, and it was almost the same identical thing that I saw just a couple days before. And really, at that point, that's when I started. I picked up my old VHS, what do you call it? I don't want to say camcorder, but it was a VHS tape that you'd pop in and start to go filming. And I would start to drive around and be like, all right, this is where I think I saw it. It was almost Blair Witchy. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I started doing that. And I've just seen some different phenomena in the sky. And again, I don't go by, meteors or anything like that. It's got to have a weird movement for me to really question it. And now if I see that, immediately I might be like, all right, that's a drone. I won't even go to UFO or anything like that. But I've seen a lot of weird things, probably about 5 different things.
That's cool. Do you have any opinion about that missing General William McCaslin? I don't know if you even heard about that.
What was that? Say it again.
I'm sure you heard Donald Trump before the war started was talking about disclosing everything, right?
Right.
Well, the guy that was going to help him through that, he's also Tom DeLonge's main contact. He's the one that was in charge of everything, like the main head honcho at White Patterson Air Base. He's the one was in charge of maintaining that like direct energy weapon too in Australia.
Right.
When it comes to UFOs, this is the guy. He went missing on February 28th.
Right. He was that missing hiker.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't just hiking. The female, there's another one of his colleagues who's that hiker who went missing.
I believe they both did. I believe they both.
He left with a gun though.
They mysteriously. Yeah, they mysteriously disappeared almost the same way, and that's why the attention's being brought up now. And again, here's where my head goes to it, because if it comes to the news, it's white noise to me. You know what? I'll find out on TikTok what's going on, what's really going on. And I don't mean that.
I got a theory.
What's that? You got a theory?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think they were removed, but go ahead. What's your theory?
I don't think they're removed. I think they're in Iran. I think because there's been a lot of talk about something that resembles the TR-3B. Who would you want there if not the engineers? If you're actually doing live runs with it for you know what I mean? And I almost wonder if
maybe
this is what our disclosure is going to be.
Oh, that's not bad. I mean, taken out, but also taken out, taken out like kind of abducted to be used over there for whatever it's going to be.
It's all their team too. So doesn't the government have like a protocol called think tank? that they
Yeah,
can do that with scientists, where they can just take them like out of public and be like, "You're
absolutely.
needed."
But here's the other thing. If they really wanted to and they didn't want us to know that they were removed, then it would not be in the news. It would, because it's actually
Mhm.
mainstream. And again, I go with that. The mainstream is leading people. They're doing the little droplets of the just releasing the disclosure, but in tight little drips, drip, drip, drip. You're going to hear this. Now you're going to hear about this guy who was hiking or whatever and taken out. And here we are talking about it. Again, what's going on, in this hand. Hey, hello, this is the general. What's going on over here? And I believe, especially with the news, is it's just the main distraction, no matter what it is. People are like, what is the distraction? Well, that's great. We don't know what the distraction is because it's being done behind us and we're not critically thinking about it. So, but I mean, that's a great theory as well. Either they were taken out, just removed, or if they were this brilliant, why not hijack them, and kidnap them
Yeah.
and bring them on over. So, I mean, it's a very interesting theory.
I'm not even sure he was kidnapped because with him, he took his gun, he took his wallet, but he left all of his devices behind.
Right. So he can't be tracked.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, and that's good. And who knows if there'll be little droplets of, yeah, you're right. And this is where he was seen on a camera here, but that might not be him. That could just be AI. You know what I mean? You get into so much.
Yeah, we live in an age where we can't believe our eyes anymore.
Exactly.
It's
And that's what they wanted. They
yeah,
wanted, I believe they wanted AI to come out for everybody to say, I don't know what I'm seeing anymore. And I see a lot of comments that way when you see posts. Like, it looks so real, but nobody wants to say
right.
it's real. They just want to say it's AI.
All right, I literally could probably have this guy on and interview him, and everybody would be like, "Oh, that was a cool camera trick. How did you do that?
Well,
What was that Grunk that you used, or was that Gemini?"
yeah, exactly. No, I agree with you. It's stuff that we may not really completely understand until we become the observer, and you, Josh, are standing outside and you're seeing this meteor come right at you, stopping, moving, spinning, going the other way, and you're like, okay, now that I just saw, and it wasn't on computer, it wasn't on TV or anything like that. I saw that with my eyes. Now you've heard of Project Bluebeam, obviously, so you're wondering now, uh, can they generate something that looks that real? And then I'm thinking, well, I just watched Spider-Man Far From Home with Mysterio, and with the drones and making these monsters and being able to use the drones to make the destruction. Anything is possible now. So it's like,
Yeah,
even if I see it with my own eyes and not on TV or anywhere else, I would still be okay. What did I just see? Can I believe it? Now this is where you just have to, I believe, just have discernment. That's what I've always said, because too much is going on. I can't control the world. I can talk about theories all day long, but it's like when it really comes down to it, it's like, you know what? Biblically, you know what? Me and Jesus, we're like this, and I'll hold on to that, and I'll be like, hey, you know what? You died for my sins, and I am eternally grateful, and I'm going to be here. Give me the discernment to understand everything around me to being real or not. You hear all the Iran talk and everything like that, and it's like, I can't do anything about that. I can sit there and voice my opinion, but I can't do anything about it.
right.
Gas is going up. I can complain about it, but there's nothing I can do about it. The food that we eat, is it even real food? There's nothing I can do about that. You can say you can buy organic, but is it organic?
Right. This
So
is
yeah, so it's basically taking that major red pill that takes you down the rabbit hole like this, and you just have to question everything. And people say, you'll go crazy that way and you won't be able to live. But I think, again, with that discernment, I think you will, and you'll be on the right track through it all. That's just my opinion about it.
Oh, I agree with you. Um, yeah, it's wild time we live in.
It is, yeah. We just we don't know what's going to happen next, and just
Do you
when I
follow a
say,
lot of
yeah, go ahead.
Do you follow a lot of like ufology? Or let me ask, do you know who Chris Bledsoe is?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do you ever listen to his interviews?
No, I honestly don't. I think it,
Um,
and honestly, I'm going to
he,
say that, and I'll let you finish there. Just to let you know, it's like there's so much out there, and a lot of people are saying, "Why don't you watch Bigfoot shows? Why don't you watch UFO shows and everything like that?" And I think it's because I've gotten that far in my life to when I see it, I feel like I'm being programmed to think a different way, which I don't like to do. I like to be able to free
right.
think my own way. Now, I'm not saying to listen to any interviews because I'd be a hypocrite. Because if anybody's going to be looking up your podcast and listen
We're
to me, I'm
making
like, I don't want to listen to that Jay. He is everywhere. It's like enough with this guy. But no, go ahead. You were saying you were listening to some
uh,
of his interviews.
what's different about him is he was interviewed by the Pope about some of this stuff and the FBI. Um, he described the whole meteorite thing to a T as what he was seeing. He also said there was going to be like a big thing that happened on Easter this year, and this was in 2003. He also said that there was going to be a war this year right before Easter, and if you listen to him, he's kind of like us. He's just like your regular, like average guy. He was a
Exactly.
commercial pilot, and he had Crohn's disease to the point it was killing him. They came down and healed him, and he almost kind of refers to one of them as like an angel, and it's a lot of the stuff he's saying has been happening in the past couple of weeks, and it's like,
Well,
oh,
I mean, it even goes back to, all prophets, whether I was going to say real or false, Nostradamus, being able to see that way. At the same time, I always look at, um, the fallen angels are still here, the demons are still here. Everything is about deceit. And honestly, this is what I feel. That's what I tell people. I can't control what's really going on here, and I can't live in the fear that somebody's going to be, predicting all these things like you were saying about before Easter. The war that's going on before Easter this year, or I believe what Trump said over Christmas. This is going to be your last Christmas. Okay, what does that mean? Um,
well, the
yeah.
big thing he said is they call her the lady, and he describes her as like the Holy Spirit.
Hmm.
And she said basically this war is going to happen. Um, my children are going to come and take away your nuclear weapons because we've been telling you and telling you and telling you you can't be doing this, and then
Right.
it's going to release a new a new knowledge to humanity. So we just had that whole incident too last week where there was mysterious drones over stealth bombers.
Right. Or what about those mysterious drones over Jersey? Whatever happened to
Right?
those? That the government's like, we don't know what's going on over there. And it's like, gee, that makes me feel really good.
Right?
Where I'm like, oh, that's a smart answer. And nobody knows. Honestly, it's the same thing. If you're going to be talking about that, how about waking up every morning and seeing? Well, I'll ask you because you're up in Green Bay area up there,
Yeah.
and I'm down here, so I have O'Hare and Milwaukee. O'Hare is a lot further south than where I am than Milwaukee's up. But when I wake up, and it's starting to turn, morning and everything, all of a sudden you just see all these lines of planes or
I was
whatever.
pretty close to the airport too, so yeah.
Then you say, but they're just going every single direction, and then you're just sitting there, and then you're watching just everything just turn into a milky white sky. It's not like fluffy white clouds, and I understand
No.
there's different cloud formations, blah, 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 blah. But it's like you never really have a perfectly blue day. Or maybe you do, but at
Oh,
certain times. So it's like I question that. And all I can do is question it, right? I can't change it. And you and I can sit here and go back and forth and think about what the theory is on it, but what's really going on?
right. I've always wondered that too. There's definitely something going on with the sky.
Right. I mean, are they just creating clouds so that we don't see another planet pass by us at that precise time? I mean, it seems like a very tall order to do. But I've heard those theories. And then I've also heard the theories that whatever is there is floating into the atmosphere, onto our food, onto us, onto the ground, into the water. We're drinking it. They turn up frequencies. There's so many different things. So
Right.
right. That's the rabbit hole. And again, I can't do anything about it. That's what I always
Right.
say. I'm always like, I can come up with these, and they can be way out there. It's critical thinking. But when it comes down to it, that's where I go back into God and discernment, and that's the way I live. It's the only way I can live. It's the only way I can focus on everything around me. Just seems to be all this white noise that's trying to deceive me, whether it's waking up in the middle of the night and scrolling for like 2 or 3 minutes and seeing, almost 100 different videos that you're not watching, and all this information in your head, and always having your phone by you, and then being in
I
this field.
will.
Yeah, I was gonna say being in this
Yeah.
field I don't want to say doesn't help, because look what we're talking about, whether it's Bigfoot,
Right.
aliens, or conspiracy.
There's definitely a time change too, and with the internet, I've noticed that with working graveyard shift, or like, yeah, like 2 o'clock bar close. It's all conspiracy theories and this, that, and that. Or in the day, it's all kind of about the war and stocks and
Yeah, right.
videos. So check out this motorcycle. Ad. It's just,
Yeah, I mean, and it is. And again, when it comes down to it, though, like I said, can we do anything about it? No.
right.
We can talk about it. You could be 100% right or 100% wrong. Nobody would ever know, and everybody will just talk about it or add on to your theories already. That's how come with the whole Bigfoot thing. Yeah, I might have started that way back in the beginning in 2013, or the Bigfoot flesh and blood primate we haven't caught up with, and to be able to capture that footage and capture this, to be able to say, look, this is real, people. And all that's changed over the past several years. I went from Finding Jay, my first documentary in 2019, then Beyond the Kettle, Finding Jay 2 in 2022. And then my recent one came out in uh, September of last year, The Kettle Connection, Finding J3. And each one wasn't a cash grab, because I can tell you right now, you do not make squat, being at this level. I do it because I enjoy the hiking part of it, the research part of it, capturing things that are unique, but then presenting it and not trying to push that down anybody's throat, saying that's what it is. It's Bigfoot. It changed into this and it flew away, whatever. When it really comes down to it, it's always, when we say question everything, I'm always saying find your truth. If you really want to know, you can sit here and try to listen to me. I could be the best used car salesman this side of, the Little Cross River, Mississippi River, even. Because he speaks well and he speaks with conviction, but I don't know. And the only way you would know is to be able to actually go out and experience that with whatever. I'm not just saying Bigfoot or ghost or looking up in the sky and trying to find UFOs or meteors or anything like that, but I think it's that the beckoning call that each person has inside them. Because I've always said, there's 8 billion people in the world, and each these billion people have their own truth. And the only way that we're going to find ours is to go out and discover it ourselves, to find our truth. Or you could just be part of the masses, glued to the TV, and just soaking it all in. And then you're believing with the masses of that's what the truth is. And it very well could be, but I like to break away from that to find my own. So that's why I'm always encouraging people to do that. Yeah.
Since everything now that comes out is just a rehash of the 80s anyways.
It is, no matter what, even movies. Like,
all of it.
You've heard that
comics
theory.
Nowadays.
Have you heard that theory as well? That when was it, like 1985 or 87, the world ended and everybody right now currently is dead, but we're kind of real living. And that's why the 80s is such a pivotal point in history. You know, it's not the 50s, 60s, or 70s. It's not the 90s or 2000. It's the 80s. What was with the 80s that we're all drawn to, and the nostalgia of why bring everything back to the 80s, not to the 70s or 60s. You know what I mean? So it's like there's got to be some sort of pivotal point there. I like to play with that theory a little bit.
Yeah, I like that too. And then you involve CERN and the Mandela effects and
opening up those black holes.
The Mayan calendar ending.
Right. Yeah. Well, the thing is, we actually have 13 months. We don't have 12. Yeah. Right. And you see that. I mean, again, that's a bold statement, but when you really look back, you wonder what year we're really in.
Or just what is time? Like, it's so confusing. Like, I'm on that show with my friends that are from England.
Yeah.
And, like, their daylight savings didn't happen yet.
Oh, interesting. But ours
did. It doesn't happen until the 29th. And they had Mother's Day a couple weeks ago. And then the following day is Veterans Day.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Like,
it's messed up. Well, I mean, I don't want to.
And then you say anything to them too, and then they're like, "No, you're just an American who tries to do everything different." And it's like, "Oh,
I know exactly." Hey, did you see that that one video that there was like this black, weird-looking cloud off Australia?
Yeah.
I mean that, and again, you look at some of this stuff, and that's where I want to have that discernment of saying, okay, everything I'm looking at is AI. It's trying to make
but then I have people that come to me and tell me things too that they're experiencing. Like, I have a friend from Australia who has, like, I've been talking to her for years, and her story's never changed. She keeps having the same experience, but it sounds like she's having experience with faith in Australia.
Yeah. But again,
she's recording it and documenting it. She's actually trying to make a documentary herself, and
right. And then when you know somebody, and that's what I'm saying, when you know somebody, that is that even brings up the credibility even so much more, because again, what I'm seeing is somebody filmed it, AI took over, who knows, and we don't even know what level AI is right now. In fact, Josh, we're probably not even here. We're AI people just talking. You just programmed us to talk.
Yeah, I get scared about the Matrix.
Yeah.
How much of that was real? Why did they take it? Why did they get rid of all the telephone booths after that movie?
Right, exactly. Exactly. You wonder, it makes it. But the thing is, like you were talking about the think tanks, that's exactly what they do. They're like, all right, this movie's going to come out. It's going to make people think this way or that way, and either or. Let's remove these. It's a whole conscious.
Speaking of that Spielberg film comes out a couple of days before Trump's supposed to give that big disclosure meeting.
I know, but isn't that so convenient? I don't know if I want to see it. I honestly, and the thing is, I love Spielberg's older movies, Jaws and Close Encounters and Super 8.
Close Encounters was based off of Travis.
Right, Walton. I know. Yeah.
So I kind of think this whole movie is like a cushion for something.
Right.
Or it's going to be a whole nothing again.
Well, but it's not even the whole nothing. Think about where it's going to push people's consciousness to go in which direction. There's so many people out there that are, and this is the weird thing, and it's hard for me to understand. There's so many people out there just, they're not waiting for Jesus's return to take us home, right? They're waiting for the aliens to come down and say, just clean up this mess that's this world. And I guess that's the hard part of wanting to watch a movie like disclosure. Does it intrigue me? Yes, and I would have to really go into it as saying it's just a movie. Let's not, you know, uh, you know, use this for any other
I
agenda.
don't know.
But then again, it's Hollywood,
People
and
get a lot of
Hollywood's
high hopes about stuff. Yeah, I
yeah,
know what you mean. Especially with like the aliens cleaning up, and then I like to use this example. Do you
yeah,
give a shit when the red ants and the black ants are fighting
yeah.
next to you while you're having a picnic? Do you feel like you need to intervene and have them make peace, or do you just want to eat your sandwich and then soak up the sun?
I guess a little bit like that. I don't know. I mean, it's
I mean, I don't
I
think
just,
we should rely on somebody from off planet for us to not be morons.
well, but that's exactly it. You don't know the intentions. Then you watch enough Twilight Zones of the old ones. It's like how to cook humans. That
Yeah,
cooking from the Twilight Zone. Um, and there's just a lot of different things that I look at, especially with Hollywood music industry, and what an influence or how it changes us. And again, if and I guess that's a part of being awake. And those that can't ask those questions just look at me like, like this guy's crazy, this guy's a fool. And somebody that how I would have looked at 15, 20 years ago, and so again, though, that's just my own discernment of just saying, hey, don't believe me then. That's fine. Find your
yeah,
own truth, question everything.
absolutely.
So we'll never know. We'll never know.
No.
All of a sudden you're gonna turn around and that little green alien on your shelf behind you is just gonna turn its head, and then come down and say, disclosure time.
Right. I'd be pretty surprised. My son printed that one.
Oh really? That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. That's cool.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe something will happen on Easter. Maybe it won't.
Just
I know
just
that
just have discernment. That's my recommendation. Anybody who's watching this right now, question everything.
everything.
Everything. It is. Watch The Matrix, take the red pill, see the world around you. And honestly, at that point, make your own decisions then. Agreed.
I definitely agree. And then this AI is so weird too. Like, is it gonna get to the point where like AI is gonna govern us?
Absolutely. I mean, which other way can it go?
I mean,
That's the big thing.
which
It's not going to
going
go
to,
backwards. It's only going to go forwards.
right? Well, can Skynet really do any worse than we're doing right now?
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past it. You wonder about the consciousness of AI, but like I said, when it comes down to being able to create a movie, I mean, on Facebook, I'm coming across things, and I'm watching this whole chapter on Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, when Luke was going to save his father. Remember? And Darth Vader picks up the Emperor and all that. But in this, I don't know. I mean, it's totally AI, but it's totally the reversal. Luke kills Darth Vader there, becomes a Sith, and is walking with Sith, getting out of the Death Star while it's about to blow up and everything. And it's like, wow, they're able to do just that. So now you're wondering,
There's actually a comic too where Vader survives,
oh, really?
and his whole suit becomes white, and he's like finishing training Luke, and like they're hunting down the rest of the Sith,
Well, that's
and
pretty
there's like
cool.
tons of them.
Well, so so exactly, it's like when it comes down to this right now, it's what are you watching on TV? Is that really going on? And you're like, well, of course it is because it's the news. The news doesn't lie.
Oh no, you got to shut that off here. years ago.
Exactly. Any late night, any award shows, any Hollywood block, anything that doesn't exist in this dojo, Mr. Lou Russo.
I think that's one of the big changes that's happening too, is that Hollywood is not so much of a thing anymore because of apps. My kids don't even watch cartoons.
No.
They're just on their phones.
Well, all the actors are just actors. They're just lizards,
Right?
or they're just actors playing other people over, decades and decades, and they just end up either passing on and living as a Hollywood legend, and they become somebody else. And I know that's so profound. And I know when I say it, it just sounds crazy, but yet for some reason, the discernment that I say that I feel is I feel that would be 100% correct. Even if I'm wrong, I look at that as just being that I'm just trying to be manipulated and played. And maybe I am to feeling this way. That's the other thing. I'm feeling like I'm backing off on that because I feel like I'm getting manipulated into one way. But they already know that if they're manipulating me feeling that, then I'm going to look this way. That's exactly where they want me to look. See?
Right.
There's no winning.
I know.
There's no hope, people, except Jesus. There's no hope other than that in the world.
And then I heard of a crazy rabbit hole about even Jesus. What if we, during World War II, when we hit the Nazis, what if we stole stuff from the Vatican and we tried cloning him?
I wouldn't put anything past it just because
we totally do that.
Just about the cloak, you wonder when they were talking about cloning for the first time. When was that? Was that in the 80s or later 80s when they were starting to do that with a goat?
Yeah.
Again, back it up a couple of hundred years. Back when you thought, John Wayne and the Old West, and it's like, sometimes I wonder if there really was an Old West, because where were all these other cities that were built? Do you ever see those old pictures of these monuments and everything? And it's like fires can brought those down.
The World Fair.
Yeah, or the World Fair where you can, walk on and step on moving sidewalks. However, how far back does AI go? And what are they? And when it's leaked, and then I go back to the Miami Mall, where after that happened into New Year's Eve 2000 or New Year's Day 2024, you haven't been able to see anything else, and now it's trickling out again. So it's everything is just messy.
Or what about the kid with the giant?
Right.
And if you really look into that, like, either he was a really good bullshitter or something really tragic happened there.
Exactly. What about the Dolphin Gerald?
And then you go back and then you look into like the FBI or the CIA files, and then we were training dolphins in Florida for combat for prisoners during the Cold War, and it was right around that area. Is Gerald one of the dolphins that they released after the program?
Well, it depends. Did he come up and go? I don't know. But that's what I'm saying. And that's the information that we're just constantly, being bombarded with. And then I'm always like, whoa. There is so much to talk about. What did we start off talking with an hour ago about aliens or no, about UFOs? And again, this is just where we're at. That is the rabbit hole. Those are the tangent rabbit holes that just keep you spinning. And by the end of this podcast, people are still going to be like, they didn't resolve anything. They're just going back and forth, throwing out theories. Yeah, this is what we do, right?
I just keep collecting people, though. They're like, oh, yeah, now we're stuck in a rabbit hole. So it's just, we're all going down.
and I'm taking you with me.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then there's the whole Egypt thing. Do you have any thoughts on that? The pyramids, there was all that talk before the war that some cylinders that were found with that new LiDAR technology.
And again, sure enough, they're showing Tahaki Mabi, or what I don't want to say his name wrong, but he was some Asian who went down there was able to film all this, and yet that's somehow released of all that energy and everything. I don't even think where the Sphinx is and some of these pyramids were not in their original places. I think they were moved, in
That's
my opinion.
possible.
You know, um, and again, when
That's
you, yeah, when you
that's
go,
the big thing that's supposed to happen too with the Easter is that the Sphinx is supposed to align with the Romulus star, and
okay,
there's supposed to be some new discovery.
I guess
A
we'll
lot of
see.
people think it's gonna be renewable energy, but
Right.
that, that'd be
And
nice. I'm sick of gas right now.
but that's what I'm saying. It's like, you get all these people excited about that part of it when we really don't know. Yeah,
That's some of the
I think
hard parts too.
right. Everyone's like, this is going to
Uh,
be the best event ever. That it's going to line
what's
up. This is finally going to happen. This is what I've been waiting for my whole life. And
the
yet,
worst for me was when I would do with ufology and you get the older ladies that have cancer and the older men, and then they start asking me about med beds, and they're like, this is gonna what's gonna save me," and it's like,
right?
I don't have an answer for you. I honestly I don't think it's real. I'm sorry, and I don't have the heart to say this to them directly, but like I I,
Yeah.
I wish I could give you the technology. I really, really wish I could, but
Well,
I'm not part of the government or
no,
an ET that's got that power. I'm just a dude with a podcast.
that's it to be able to talk about it. But it's good to strike or bring those questions to answers or questions up front to where people actually go, wow, I really never thought of it that way. So no matter what we said, even in jest or joking or all complete seriousness, hopefully we have said something tonight that people can take.
I relate to you.
From that.
That's a big part of why I did this.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of crazy experiences through my life, and I've just been trying to collectively find people who have the same ones,
yeah,
similar,
yeah.
collect notes.
No, no kidding. Which I have my dog here just making. I don't know if you can hear that.
I don't know. My Australian Shepherd's right here squeaking too. He
I
wants
know
to
they want to
come
go.
in
They want to.
every
They want to go.
podcast, but then he's got to go out.
I know, right? That's what it is. It's called the potty dance. The furry four-leggeds.
Oh, I don't even think it's that. It's just he's. I don't want to be in this room anymore. I changed my mind. I don't care that you're alive, Dad.
Exactly right. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Good show. Good show.
Thank you. Have you ever had a dog man experience? One quick question I'll ask you.
Um,
Or
I I have patrolled Bray Road and its surrounding roads. Now, I can tell you if you're up down here in Wisconsin, you can drive on Bray Road. It's public road. Anything off of that is all public uh,
farmland.
farmland. They all know each other, second, third generation farmers. They're there. You don't want to be poking around in the fields out there or anything like that.
And
But
they probably have get kids my age that have drones, and
oh,
I'm sure there's trail cams everywhere because they don't want you there.
they
They
don't
want
want
their
you.
farm.
But you can drive on it. And there's several times I call it patrolling. I don't call it stalking because you're driving, driving casually, not too fast, not too slow, just trying to be out there. Maybe there might be a setting, but there was one night. This is I'm going to say 2015. We got done with a late hike in the Kettle Moraine, and on the way back, I want to do a little bit of patrolling. So this was 2:30 in the morning, and I would do my rounds. I call them. You're just driving, just maybe something would jump up. And I was with a friend, and actually he actually brought a camera out with him that day that he was actually looking at his camera, not his phone, his camera, and he was looking down. And I would remember just driving. It's like at 30 miles an hour through there, and I was probably doing 18-ish. I don't want to be too slow. I don't want to be too fast. And I'm just driving, and all of a sudden, off to my left, my headlights catch right on the side of the road. I mean, honestly, it looks exactly the way I'm going to describe it. It looked like it was taller than my Ford Escape, so it was around 7 feet, and it looked like an upright canine. I'm going to say wolf, looking up with its hand, both of its hands like moving like this, but it didn't move. And the other weird thing about it is it almost looked like one of those fatheads, the cutout of Han Solo, that's life size.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of flat, and yet it almost looked like it was crinkled. It sounds so weird, but it happened so quick that when I was driving, my headlights catch it, my brain's reacting to it. So I'm passing it. I immediately I'm hitting the brakes because I'm only doing 18. So I'm like, my friend Cameron, he held on to it. He's like, what's going on? Because he's looking down, and I'm like, I immediately hit reverse and backed up and just kind of did whipped it off to the side so that I had my headlights right where I saw it. There was nothing there. So the reason why I don't talk about that one too much, obviously, is because really there's no proof or no evidence for that except for my story or for the way I saw it and the way I talk about it. From what I saw is like I could totally see that detail so much in my head, but there was nothing there. Now, the big thing is when I say nothing was there, this was farm field. There was no trees, no bush. Right on the side of the road is where I saw it. And then if you went a little off to the road into the shoulder, there was a big ditch, and then the field started. So there was literally nothing in the ditch. I don't know. It was weird because, you figure I passed it, processed it, reversed, backed up, maybe 10 seconds-ish, right? So I guess anything would have time to boogie, if it really wanted to. But, right when I blasted the lights out there, my friend's like, what's going on? I'm like, I just saw something standing here. And there was nothing there. No telephone pole, no tree, no shrub, no bush. So I didn't have a misidentification of something that was an object that was there. So that was my closest story of what I would believe would be a dog man or an upright canine.
Wow. It's something. Weird. I don't know.
Exactly. What if there's more of a different force out there that's projecting these images into my head? That's the other.
I've thought that too. Other people have had that theory as well, as like maybe because there's so many times like there's Bigfoot sightings, and then somebody has like a UFO sighting, and,
Right.
And sometimes like a paranormal. Is it all the same thing, just projecting itself?
Yeah. And again, you don't know, or are we manifesting it with our own minds? It's the other thing. You want to believe in something so bad, or you drip out the information of meteors hitting all these different states, and then you got a mass consciousness thinking now about these that we're manifesting them. I mean, is that possible? I guess anything could be possible, but that's, if you think outside the box, those type of things could actually be. I like to sit there and fancy the idea of that. It's just a theory, but who knows? Maybe we're doing that.
Right. So many questions. Like you said, you got to question everything.
Well, you do. If it's nothing that, if nothing else, like I said, I think your podcast is good to at least enlighten that or bring that up. And it's not even so much if it was true. You could be like, ha, I told you, I was right. You know, everybody's got their own truth on what's really going on. And we could be 100%, you know, the 180 spin away from what's really there. That's the bizarre part of it. You know, all this could just be for nothing. You know, suddenly you're going to wake up in some tanning salon that you were just plugged in like the Matrix and going, oh, wow, this is the real world out here. And this is what I was just doing.
Like, there's just some guy that's like, get off the chair, kid. Your turn's over.
Right. Yeah. All of a sudden you're like, there's an earthquake. And all of a sudden you're just like, you know. But I mean, again, who knows? And got to question everything. Critical thinking.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's conspiracy theory. I always hated that because it really does isolate those people that want to think of, you know.
That word was made up by the CIA.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't like using that word either.
Exactly.
Should we call it right now? Definitely love to have you back.
Absolutely have me back. That would be awesome. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks for having me on tonight, though.
Yeah, I love it. I'd honestly love to go on a hike with you sometime. I used to actually go walking in the Kettle Moraines a lot in high school.
Yeah, that's a while ago. Maybe we'll stay in touch. Definitely. Okay. And you know how to get a hold of me too.
Yeah.
I don't know on how many other people do, but they can find me at jaybachochin.com. And there you can find my social medias or just kind of what I'm up to on there. Because actually, I do have my my films for sale on there as well. Because I have the first two, Finding Jay and Beyond the Kettle, Finding Jay 2. Those are both streaming on Amazon Prime. And my third one, believe it or not, since then, Prime is gone. Yeah, we're not doing indie films anymore unless you know, have a big name or anything like that in there, which is okay. Because like I said, you don't get rich doing this. But if found a nice little platform where I have all three of my films being showed on Paraflex. It's a great streaming app. Yeah. You know it. It's just like Netflix, but Paraflex, and it's got everything: paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, you know, everything, aliens, all that cool stuff. Dogman, really good streaming. Cool. Yeah.
I couldn't stray away from Gaia.
Yeah, from Gaia. Yeah. So that's awesome, you know. And like I said, if hit me up and we can do another chat later.
Awesome, sounds good. Thank you for coming.
You betcha, Josh. All right, brother. Well, you have a great night.
You too. I'm gonna end the live. Bye, everybody.